Me gustaría darles la bienvenida a
I
todas
would
las
like to
personas
welcome
conectadas a nuestro
everyone who
webinario
has
titulado
connected
Lo que
to
las
the
empresas
webinar
necesitan saber.
that is where
Jóvenes con
businesses need
espíritu
to know
innovador
young
configuran el mundo
innovators
empresarial.
shaping
Mi
business.
nombre es Karina
My
Morales
name
y
is
soy
Karina
parte del equipo
Morales
de
and I
grupos
am part
consultivos y participación
of
pública
the
de la
advisory
Comisión
groups
para
and
la
public
Cooperación
participation
Ambiental.
directorate for
Antes de
the
comenzar,
Commission
les invito a
for Environmental
renombrarse con los
Cooperation.
pronombres que
Before you
deseen en
start,
Zoom.
please
Durante el
rename
webinario,
yourselves
el
with
chat
your
estará disponible.
name and
Sin embargo, les
your
pedimos
pronoun.
amablemente
I
hagan sus
will
preguntas en la
kindly
sección de preguntas
ask
y
you to
respuestas en la barra
place your
inferior en su
questions
pantalla.
in the
Antes de
Q&A
empezar, les
section
pido que
before we start.
rápidamente respondan a
Please
la pregunta que se
answer to
mostrará
the
en sus
question that will
pantallas.
be shown on
Muchas
your
gracias
screen.
y que
Thank
lo
you very
disfruten.
much and enjoy this webinar.
I will be giving the land acknowledgement in English. My name is Leila Irmabor, and I'm joining you today from Montreal, where the Secretariat of the Commission of Environmental Cooperation is also located. We are situated on the unceded traditional territory of the Kanyan-Kehaka, also known as the Mohawk Nation. At the CEC, we recognize and respect Indigenous peoples as the traditional custodians of the lands and waters, and we are committed to working in partnership with them to protect the environment across what we may refer to as Turtle Island or North America. As each of you joins us from different locations, we invite you to take a moment to reflect on and honor the First Nations on whose territories you are situated. I'll be now speaking in French. Je suis une étudiante à l'Université de Saint-Paul et je suis ravie de faciliter cette conversation aujourd'hui.
I'm very
J'étudie
happy
le
to
leadership,
have this
l'équité et
conversation
l'écologie
with
et je me
you
passionne pour
today.
l'innovation sociale
And
et pour
I work
l'entrepreneuriat social
with
aussi. J'ai l'expérience
ecology,
à
social
soutenir des
innovation, and
initiatives au
for
Canada et
everything that
en
has to
Afrique de
do with
l'Est.
social
Et je
aspect.
suis
I work
intéressée
with some
au
initiatives
rôle
in
que
Canada,
le
and
secteur
I'm very
privé peut
much
jouer à combler
interested
les ressources
in
que les
the
institutions
role that
traditionnelles
the private
ou ils sont
sector
limitées.
plays with the
Donc, je
resources
vais
and
passer
where
maintenant le
everything
mot
is
à Julie.
limited. So now I'm going to pass the floor to Julie.
Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis vraiment ravie de voir votre
Good
participation.
morning,
Je suis Julie
everyone. I'm very
Benjamin. Je suis
happy
chargée
to
de la sensibilisation des
participate
partenariats et de l'engagement
in
jeunesse
today's
à
session.
la
I
Commission de
am
coopération environnementale,
responsible
la
for
CCED comme on l'appelle.
raising
Un
awareness
petit mot
and
peut-être
youth
sur la CCED
commitment in
pour
the
celles et
CEC,
ceux
as
qui ne
we
le connaissent
call
pas.
it. And I
Donc
would
c'est une
like to talk
organisation
about the
intergouvernementale qui
CCA.
réunit
This is
le
an
Canada avec l'environnement et
intergovernment
changement climatique Canada,
organization
le Mexique
that
avec Semarnat et les
gathers
États-Unis
Canada,
avec l'Agence de
Mexico
protection de
with
l'environnement.
Severnet,
Elle a
and the
été créée il y a
US
30
with
ans pour le
if,
but d'atténuer les effets
the
de l'accord de libre-échange nord-américain sur l'environnement.
Environmental Protection Agency,
Donc
and
la
it was
Commission a
created
pour
through
mission de
the
favoriser la
free
collaboration entre les pays,
agreement,
mais aussi
free trade
d'œuvrer d'inclure
agreement
la société civile
within the
sur
three
des enjeux
countries. We want
environnementaux
to
communs
work with the
et
three
promouvoir la
countries
durabilité. Et puis on
with
travaille non seulement
everything
donc
that has to do
entre les
with the
pays, mais aussi avec la
environment.
société civile
We
et
work
notamment
not
les
only
jeunes et puis
among
aussi des
the
organisations du
three
secteur privé.
different countries, but the
Donc on est
civil
vraiment ravis de
society,
vous
youth,
inviter à ce
and private
webinaire.
sector.
Je
We
laisserai
are
mes collègues
very
commenter, parler un
happy
peu
to
plus
have
de ce
you
que nous faisons
in
au
this
niveau du secteur
webinar,
privé, puis de l'engagement du
and
secteur
we're
privé.
going to be talking
Et puis
about
de mon côté, moi, je vais vous
what
parler un
we
peu plus de ce qu'on fait dans
do, the
l'engagement
private
jeunesse.
sector commitments,
Et
and
puis
I'm going
voilà,
to talk about the
inviter à célébrer avec moi
youth
ce premier
and their
webinaire des
commitment.
Journées de l'engagement
We
jeunesse
would like to
2025.
invite you to
À
celebrate
la
to
Commission, en fait, on a
this
vraiment eu l'idée
day, the first
d'institutionnaliser
Youth
l'engagement jeunesse. Donc
Engagement Week
depuis
day.
3 ans, on
We
met en
want
place une
to
stratégie d'engagement jeunesse dont fait
institutionalize
partie les Journées de
the
l'engagement
youth
jeunesse.
commitment.
Puis ces journées
We
sont
have
vraiment
been working
l'occasion
for
pour
3 years with the
de nous
youth, their
célébrer les actions des
commitment.
jeunes.
And
Là, en l'occurrence, cette
for
année, c'est de
us,
célébrer les actions
this
des
is
jeunes et aussi
an event
les
to
personnes qui
celebrate
soutiennent les
the
jeunes
youth.
pour
And
le
we
travail
want to celebrate
intergénérationnel.
the youth
Et puis
actions and
de
people
vous ouvrir une
supporting
plateforme pour que
the
vous puissiez
youth
créer un
and
réseau, en fait,
opening
nord-américain pour l'action
platforms so
environnementale. Donc, je vous invite
we can
vraiment à
create a North
profiter de ce
American
webinaire,
network.
d'échanger, de
So
vous laisser
we can take,
inspirer, d'être
we would
inspiré
like
vous
to take
aussi,
advantage of this webinar,
et d'inspirer les autres, et puis
inspire
d'imaginer ensemble
with
des
each
solutions et
other's
des bonnes pratiques
contribution,
qui
help
dépassent les frontières. Donc,
help
bienvenue
us inspire
à cette troisième
others
édition
to
et
have
premier webinaire
best practices.
des
So
Journées de l'engagement
welcome to
jeunesse.
the third
Je vais repasser le
edition of
mot
the
à
Youth
Léla.
Engagement Week. So I'm going to pass the floor to Leila.
Parfait. Donc, je vais vous donner une introduction sur le sujet du webinaire.
Perfect. So
Je vais
I'm going
juste
to give
vite
you
fait
an
partager mon
introduction
écran.
on today's
Juste
webinar,
pour un
and I'm going
moment.
to share my screen for that purpose.
Juste pour introduire le webinaire, donc comme Julie a partagé,
This is just
aujourd'hui
an
le but
introduction. I would
de
like
cette
to say
semaine, c'est
today
vraiment
that
de mieux comprendre l'engagement des jeunesses, pas juste comme
I want
des
you
des
to
recevants, mais
understand
aussi comme
the
des
commitment,
collaborateurs.
the
Donc
engagement,
aujourd'hui, on va voir
the
comment
youth
l'engagement jeunesse
engagement, and I want to talk about
se met
everything that
dans le
has
secteur
to
privé.
do with
Donc,
this
on
and
va
how youth
explorer
engagement
l'entrepreneuriat des
is
jeunes. Donc, un entrepreneur qui est quelqu'un qui
instilled
organise
in the businesses. We're going to be talking about all the people that
et on va
organize
aussi voir
the
l'intrapreneuriat qui
initiatives,
est en fait
specifically
l'habilité
the youth.
des
And
employés
we're going to be
à
discussing
se
about
composer
all
comme
the
un entrepreneur dans une
skills
organisation.
and everything
Donc,
that
pouvoir prendre
entails
l'initiative dans une organisation
being an entrepreneur
pousser
and
des
how
idées.
to lead
Donc, on va
internet
voir
initiatives
spécifiquement
so we
aujourd'hui
can
des
deliver
jeunes
new
qui
ideas.
poussent
And we're going
vraiment
to
la
be talking
résilience
about this
climatique au sein
specifically.
des
We're going to
organisations,
be talking
soit
about the
en tant
youth that
qu'entrepreneuriat
is
ou comme
really
entrepreneur eux-mêmes.
concerned about climate
Donc, c'est
resilience
ça.
and how can
Je vais maintenant
entrepreneurs
passer à Samantha
push
qui
this
va nous parler un peu
forward.
plus
Now I'm going to
sur
pass the floor to
le secteur
Samantha.
privé et
Samantha
l'engagement
will
du
talk
secteur
about the private
CCE avec le
sector
secteur
and
privé.
the engagement of the CEC with the
Merci,
private
Leila.
sector.
Buenos días a todas y a todos. Mi nombre es Samantha Gagnon y
My
soy
name is
líder de
Samantha
grupos
Gagnon. I
consultativos de
am the
participación empresarial aquí en la
lead
CCI.
of
Este
the
webinario es
advisory
el
groups and
segundo de
public
tres en el marco
participation
de la serie
director.
Lo
This
que
is
las
the
empresas necesitan
second
saber,
webinar of
una
3, what
iniciativa
businesses
diseñada
need
para
to know,
destacar temas
an
claves en el
initiative
sector privado y que forma
designed
parte de
for
los
the
esfuerzos
private
de la
sector,
CCA
and it is part of
para
the CEC's
fortalecer la
efforts to
colaboración con
strengthen the
empresas e industrias de
collaboration with
Canadá, Estados
companies
Unidos
and
y México.
industries from
Por mi
Canada,
parte,
the
me
US,
gustaría
and
muy
Mexico.
rápidamente
I would
hablarles un
like
poquito más del
very
trabajo
rapidly
de la
to talk
CCA con el sector
about the
privado y
CEC
haré
work
esto en
with
tres
the
partes.
private sector.
Aprovecho
I'm
para
going to
decirles
do
a los
this in
intérpretes
3
el momento en el que
sections.
voy a cambiar de idioma.
And I'm going
La
to
primera parte
the
es el
first part
trabajo de
is
la
about
CCA con el
the
sector privado desde
CEC
la
work
creación.
with the
Mi
private
presentación
sector
será en
since its
español.
creation. The
Después voy
presentation
a
will be in
hablarles
Spanish.
de nuestro
Then
trabajo en el
I'm going to
contexto de
talk
los
about
desafíos
our work
ambientales
in
actuales. Esta parte será en
within
inglés.
the
Y finalmente
environmental
les
challenges. This
presentaré la estrategia
presentation
sobre la
is in
participación
English
del
and
sector
then
privado
the
en la CCA.
strategy of the private
Así que
sector in French.
empezamos.
So
La
we're going to
comisión fue
start right
creada en
now. The commission was
1994 y
created
por
in
supuesto que desde su
1994,
creación
and of
hace más de
course,
30 años
since its
ha
creation,
trabajado de manera muy
more than 30
cercana con
years,
el
has
sector
worked
privado
very
en diversas
closely with the public
iniciativas y
sector in
proyectos que han
several
sido prioridades para los
initiatives
tres
and
países.
projects that have been
Los
priorities for the
inicios, gran
three
parte del
countries. At the
trabajo de la
beginning,
CCA
great
se
part of
centró
the
en
work of the
analizar la
CEC
relación
was
entre
focused
comercio
on
y medio
creating the
ambiente
relationship
en un
between
contexto de
the trade
inquietud
and the
sobre si el
environment
TELECAN podría debilitar
to
las
see
leyes
if
ambientales
the
o su aplicación para
NAFTA
atraer
could
inversión y ventajas comerciales.
bring
Pero a
in
través del TELECAN y
commercial
los
advantage, but through the
subsecuentes acuerdos
NAFTA
de
and the
Canadá, México y Estados
subsequent
Unidos se
agreements,
afirmaron su
Canada, Mexico, and
compromiso
the US,
hoy con el
strengthen their
Acuerdo de Cooperación
commitment
Ambiental de
now
promover el
under
desarrollo
the
sostenible y asegurar altos
environmental
niveles de
cooperation
protección ambiental
agreement.
en toda América
We
del Norte.
want to ensure a
Let's
better
now move
environment.
forward from the creation of the CEC to our present days. Throughout the years, and in the face of the global, regional, and local environmental challenges we confront today, it has become increasingly clear that collective and decisive action is needed from all actors, including governments, NGOs, academic institutions, civil society, and of course, the private sector. Local industries and businesses are an essential part of the social and economic fabric of our communities. They operate across the continent and provide livelihoods for millions of people. Engaging them in environmental action is therefore not only strategic, but also indispensable. Moreover, the private sector holds a unique position to influence environmental solutions, whether by reducing emissions and resource use within their operations or by developing innovative approaches that help to mitigate environmental risk. Their capacity for innovation, technical expertise, and financial resource is a key asset that can significantly strengthen the CEC efforts to fulfill its mission. Et c'est ainsi, dans ce contexte, que la CCE a adopté sa nouvelle stratégie d'engagement du
In this
secteur privé et
context,
dispose aujourd'hui d'une
in the private sector, we have a unique occasion to redefine and strengthen that relationship with the companies and trying to have new links of dialogue. This is something that we developed, which is an essential stage to have more opportunities to promote more innovative work models to create concrete benefits for North America. So within this spirit, the webinar will be held today with the youth innovators that play a critical role in terms of entrepreneurship and businesses, integrating from the beginning a more responsible vision, not only oriented to the present, but also to the future. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, the presenters and panel members that will be with us today. And I would like to remind you that there is a survey, and I think that it is now the time to present the outcome, the results from the first survey. The question was, why is youth engagement in business important to you? And here we can see that most of the answers, with 56%, say that I believe youth engagement is key to innovation and sustainability. And that's the second place we have I'm a youth looking to make an impact through businesses. There will be many surveys during this webinar, so please help us answer them because we want to know more about you and why you have joined us today. And I would like to take advantage of this so I can show you the second poll before I pass the floor to Leila. And this question says, what can businesses do better support young youth, young intra and entrepreneurs? What can businesses do to better support young intra and entrepreneurs?
les entreprises pour mieux soutenir les jeunes entre et intra-entrepreneurs. Et avec ça,
Yes.
je vous remercie et j'ai la parole à ma collègue Leila.
So with this, I would like to thank you, and I'm going to pass the floor to Leila. Thank you so much.
Merci Samantha. Donc, je vous encourage tout le monde à
Thank you very
participer
much,
au
Samantha.
deuxième poll.
So I
Pour
would like
faire
you
ça, je vais aussi vous
to
introduire nos
be engaged
présenteurs
during
aujourd'hui.
this webinar.
Donc, on a trois
And
présenteurs
I'm
de
going
chaque
to
pays.
present
On va
today's
entendre
presenters. We
des
have
grandes
three
présentations. Ils
presenters
vont
from the three
parler de
different
leur
countries.
parcours
We're going
au
to
sein de leur
listen
organisation.
to
Ils vont parler pendant 15
a
minutes.
presenter
Après, on
from
aura une
each
période
country, and they're going to be
d'environ
talking
2
during
minutes pour répondre
15
à une
minutes, and
question.
then there will
Donc,
be
si vous voulez les
a
poser une
2-minute
question, vous pouvez le faire dans
period
la
for
boîte
the
questions et
Q&A
réponses.
session.
Veuillez s'il vous plaît
And
partager vos questions
please
immédiatement dans cette boîte-là. Et à la
place your
fin,
questions
pour
or
la troisième
text,
présentation et la dernière,
write your
on aura aussi une
questions in
période
the
de questions
Q&A
de 10
sessions. And
minutes
after the third
pour avoir
presentation,
des
we're going to
discussions
be
plus ouvertes
talking
et répondre aux autres
during
questions qu'on n'a pas pu répondre
during
avant.
10 minutes to
Donc,
have
on va
more
commencer
open
avec
discussions
Emmanuel
about the
Tablas
questions we
et
were not
Sarsang de
able to
Bombardier.
address
Ils
before.
travaillent dans les produits durables au
So
sein de leur
we
entreprise.
have
Donc, ils vont nous
Emmanuel
parler de
Tablas
leur
from
parcours.
Bombardier. He works
Après,
in
on
this
va entendre
company, and
Yesenia
he's going
Ochoa,
to
qui est
be talking
fondatrice
about what
de
he has been
Eco
doing.
Pioneros, un
Then we
groupe de
have
jeunes
Yesenia
passionnés par
Ochoa.
l'innovation
Yesenia
et
Ochoa
l'énergie
is from
propre pour la communauté rurale.
Redhi.
Donc,
She's going to be
on va
talking
entendre
about clean
Yesenia, son
energy.
équipe. Et
And
finalement, on va
then
aussi
we're
entendre
going to be
Lorena James
listening
des
to
États-Unis, qui va nous
Yesenia
parler
is from
de,
Mexico, and
de son
then we're
travail
going to
chez
listen
Food
to
Justice.
Lorena James.
Elle est
She's
aussi
from the United
entrepreneur
States, and
social
she's
et
going to
elle
be
va aussi nous
talking
parler de son parcours
about her work
en
in
tant
Nature for Justice. She's going to be
que
talking
femme
about
qui
her
travaille
path
avec
as a
les
woman
jeunes
that
femmes,
works
les jeunes agriculteurs
with the
aussi.
youth, with
Donc
the young
là,
young
comme je vous
farmers.
l'ai dit, il y aura la période de 10 minutes pour les questions.
As I said
Donc, vous
before, we
partagez
have a
uniquement
10
dans la
minute
boîte questions et réponses et non dans le chat,
period
s'il vous
for
plaît.
the Q&A sessions at the end. The questions have
Là,
to be
est-ce que les résultats
in
sont...
the Q&A session,
Donc, on a maintenant
Q&A
les
chat,
résultats
please.
du deuxième sondage.
So
Si on peut
we have the
avoir
answers from the second poll.
L'écran partagé.
So I'm going to share my screen
Merci,
with all of you.
Eleonore.
Thank you very
Donc,
much,
on
Eleanor.
peut voir la question était
So the
que peuvent
question is,
faire les
what can
entreprises pour
businesses
mieux
do
soutenir
to
les jeunes
better
entrepreneurs et
support
intrapreneurs?
young
Donc, merci
intra
d'avoir partagé
and
vos
entrepreneurs?
réponses. On a
And let's
représentation,
see the answers.
responsabilité,
We have
décision,
responsibility,
on a aussi le cadre,
decision,
espace, génération et
space,
protection
local,
aussi.
youth,
Donc,
protection.
merci à tout le monde d'avoir
So thank you
répondu à
everyone
la question
for
et
your
aussi,
answers
on va aussi pouvoir voir
and
comment
for
les
also
jeunes aujourd'hui,
contributing
les
with
présenteurs
your ideas
aujourd'hui
to see how
font
the
pour
youth
supporter aussi les jeunes au sein
and
de leur entreprise. Donc,
see what our
maintenant,
young presenters
on
do
va
in terms of businesses.
passer à
Now,
Emmanuel et Star.
we're going to start with
Thank you,
Emmanuel.
Lela. So this works. All right, thank you so much. So, nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Emmanuel. I'm presenting today with my intern Star. We are in the product sustainability team here at Bombardier, which is headquartered here in Montreal, Canada. To give a little bit of context on what Bombardier is, we are an aerospace company, so we make planes in simple terms. We have over 5,000 aircraft flying around the world and in service. Today, we have over 18,000 employees based in major facilities worldwide as well. So we are a decently big company, I would say. And in terms of our footprint, if you could see here, this isn't everything. But we're located, well, we have major facilities here in Canada, in the US, and in Mexico as well. And again, there's other facilities that are not shown here, but we also have Australia, Germany, and so on. So we're pretty much everywhere else in the world as well. So a little bit more about us, what me and Star do. We are in the product sustainability team, like I mentioned at Bombardier. So the goal of our team is to integrate sustainability into our products and make our products as sustainable as they can be. So we try to work with what we have, and we work on different parts of sustainability. So I work specifically on regulatory intelligence for environmental regulations. So this is more product environmental regulations. So this ranges from chemical regulations. This could be embedded carbon types of regulations, anything that could really affect our product. That's where most of my work is going to be. But I have colleagues as well who are not here today, but have also specialties in other areas of sustainability and work towards making our products more sustainable. So this could be sustainable aviation fuel, which is an alternate fuel for aircraft. General life cycle assessment as well, which is a key part of what our strategy is towards making our products more sustainable. Circularity as well. Many different things. So you could see here, just to briefly explain what our team does, we're really looking at it from a life cycle perspective. So looking at things from the design phase all the way to the end of life, to the dismantling of the aircraft. And so we're trying to have influence at every phase of the production to ensure that we could have the most sustainable product possible, at least that we can do. Because again, when it comes to aerospace, things move very slowly, and that's just the nature of our industry. So a little bit about me, and I want to talk a little bit more about me because, yes, I'm working in sustainability right now, but I would have never thought that I would end up here. And I think this is very interesting for people who want to work in sustainability but may not have maybe like studied directly into sustainability, but does want to work into it. I think I'm a very good example. So I'll go over my journey so far. So I graduated from Concordia University here in Montreal with a bachelor's in biochemistry. So the core of the stuff that you learn in biochemistry is mostly, I would say, health science related things that you would maybe do in pharmacy or in the hospital, lab, these types of lab tests. But I managed to find an internship at a company called Bureau Veritas, which is an environmental analytical laboratory. I was in their inorganic chemistry department, but the focus again was on environmental analysis of contaminants, whether that be in soil, in the air, and in water. So that was a very, very interesting experience. I was there for almost a year. So that really opened my eyes a little bit to uh, working a little bit more on the topics of the environment. And then after that, I got to work in the Department of National Defense as a student hazmat officer. Here, I got to work really on chemical management, the safe usage of chemicals within different sites. So this was focused really on the Montreal region. That's where my work was being done. So it was a lot of inspections, a lot of, saying what you should do, what you can't do with certain things, how you should handle certain things, and so on. And then my last internship was at Bombardier, where I got to work with what I'm doing today. So I worked there for a year as an intern, and now I've been full time since 2023 now, I think. I think 2023. So really interesting journey. You could see I put a couple pictures because I thought it would be interesting. Um, like my lab work, what I did at school, and then you could also see my team that I'm working with today. That's not my full team, but it's part of my team. That was one of the only pictures I had that looked good. So that's me. That's my journey. That's what I've been doing so far. So for anyone who wants to work in sustainability and maybe doesn't have the background for it, I think there's opportunities everywhere to do so. Especially here at Bombardier, I want to say I work with many different teams. They aren't directly maybe sustainability related, but there's always aspects of sustainability ingrained in everything that we do. So I'm gonna let my intern Star talk a little bit more about herself and also the different opportunities that we have here at Bombardier as well.
Hello everyone. So my name is Star and currently I'm a master student in environmental engineering and also a intern at the product sustainability team at Bombardier working with Emmanuel. And now I will just introduce the two programs that in Bombardier that is open to the youth. So the first one that we have is the Bombardier internship program, which you can see on the left. So we have this program is especially for the intern, and for many of us, this is our first real entry into the industry and especially starting to work. So from the first day, we have the access to all the tools and resources and all the people that could help us. And we also have the opportunities to attend the different conferences and events where all the senior leaders that they share their stories, how they started, the challenges they face, and even the lessons that they have learned in their career. So the programs that meet all the executive or women taking flight makes me feel like included in these big companies. And there is also an internship community, which is led entirely by all the interns, and we collaborate, we organize some activities, especially for the young, and also we build a sense of the community in the company. And throughout all of this, we could gain not only the work experience, which is the kind of let me think that I am contribute to the real decision and real project in this company. And also we have the engineering career accelerator program. This is a program that many interns like me is dreams of moving into. So it's not the same as the traditional role. This role is a rotational program. So it takes all the new graduates across the different engineering teams and giving them a view of the whole company. So think of it as a launch pad. So every rotations add a new skill, a new challenges, and a new mentor. So by the end, the participants are not just engineers, they are the future of the leaders who could understand the full pictures of the whole aerospace engineering. And the goal of this program is so clear. So it is to accelerate the growth, encourage curiosities, and give the young engineer the opportunity to shape the next generation of their career life. So to conclude, I think working at Bombardier for the youngs, it could help me a lot because as my first intern, this journey helped me get like a more clear understand of what exactly I want to do in the future. And thanks to this opportunity, I have a more clean vision of what I am going to do in next.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel and Star, for this presentation. Merci à Emmanuel et Star pour cette présentation et d'avoir partagé votre parcours chez Bombardier. Donc
Thank you for
là,
your
on
presentation
va
and for
passer
this
à une question.
tour through
Donc,
Bombardier.
la question que
Now
j'ai
I'm
pour
going to a
vous deux,
question. The
c'est
question that I
est-ce
have
que,
for you two
est-ce que vous
is
pouvez
the following.
partager comment les programmes
Can you
chez Bombardier
share
vous
the
encouragent
programs
à
at
avoir
Bombardier?
un esprit plus
Do
entrepreneur
they
au sein de la
incite
compagnie,
you
mais aussi
to
peut-être
have
au-delà de la
a
compagnie?
more entrepreneur spirit in the company, but beyond the company?
Yeah, I'll answer that question. So maybe not the programs themselves. Sorry, I'll let you answer as well, Star, after if you have something you want to say. But really, I think in terms of Bombardier, I think it's the roles and the opportunities that you get, not the programs themselves, but the opportunities that you get really put you in a position where you could make your own decisions, give your own feedback, and really propose ideas that people will appreciate. And I think that's really what lets you grow and become, as you mentioned, have that entrepreneur mindset. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think for me that Bombardier offered me like a place that I can start to do something that could achieve what I want.
C'est incroyable. Merci à vous deux d'avoir partagé. Donc, si vous avez d'autres questions pour
Thank you
Star et
very much for
Emmanuel,
sharing
on va
this.
pouvoir
If you have
aussi les
more
répondre
questions for
à la fin,
Star
après
and
la troisième
Emmanuel, you
présentation.
can answer them at the end of the other presentations.
Pour, on va pouvoir passer comme ça. Donc maintenant, on va entendre
And
de
we
Yesenia
organized it
Ochoa,
that way so that we
qui
can leave the
représente
questions
le
towards the end.
Mexique.
Now,
Elle va nous
Yesenia Ochoa,
parler de
who
son
is
parcours,
representing Mexico,
son travail
and
aussi
she's
avec
going to talk about
Éco-Violence
her
aussi.
work and
Donc,
her
je laisse
tour
le
or
plancher
her
à Yesenia.
travels with youth. So, Yesenia,
Hola, muy buenos días. Yo
good morning.
soy Yesenia
I am
Acevedo. No sé si esté viendo
Yesenia
mi presentación.
Acevedo. I don't know if you're looking at my presentation.
Si no, pues puede ser así
Yesenia
hablado.
Ochoa Acevedo. Acevedo,
Yo
perdón.
tengo 19 años y soy
I'm
estudiante de la carrera
19
de
years and I'm
Políticas Energías
studying
Renovables en la Universidad Autónoma de Baja
engineering,
California Sur.
renewable
Yo
sources.
soy una joven
I am a
apasionada
youth
por el cambio sistémico,
passionate for
por
systemic
preguntarme
changes,
qué pasa
for
si lo
asking
hacemos diferente
what happens if we do it
y por
differently,
construir soluciones
and for
desde la
constructing
investigación y desde la ingeniería
solutions in
aplicada, ¿no?
research and applied engineering.
Yo primero, antes de
I
hablar de lo que
first,
hago, quiero
before
hablar de
talking
la
about what
ciudad
I
de
do,
vengo.
I want to
Yo
tell
soy
you
de La
where I'm
Paz, Baja
coming from.
California Sur,
I'm from La Paz, Baja
que
California
parece un
Sur.
paraíso. Es
It
un lugar
seems
donde hay
like a
muchos atardeceres
paradise. It's a
impresionantes, hay
place where we
ballenas,
have
hay mar por todos lados,
whales, we have
pero este
sea
paraíso se está
everywhere,
quedando sin
and that
agua y
paradise
sin
is
energía
being
limpia.
left without any water.
Somos un estado
We
aislado del
are an
sistema eléctrico
isolated
nacional.
state
Esto,
from the
no hay
state
como una
electric
respuesta en
system.
concreto de por qué
We
somos
don't
un
have an
sistema
answer of
aislado,
why
pero
we
pues se
have
dice que
an
es por la
isolated
falta de
system,
infraestructura y
but
por la
they say that
conexión
it's
por las
lack of
montañas que hay
infrastructure
justo
and the
en el
mountains
paso
that
donde
we
termina la
have.
península de México
The
hacia
peninsula of
el resto de los
Mexico
estados que sí
ends
están
towards
conectados al
the
sistema eléctrico nacional.
rest of the states where they are connected to the
Por lo que
national
nosotros
electric
tenemos que
system.
generar nuestra energía
We
con
have
tres
to generate
termoeléctricas.
our
Una sola
uh,
termoeléctrica genera
energy
más de
with three
144
thermoelectric
toneladas de
companies.
gases
One
contaminantes en un solo día.
has
Esto viene siendo equivalente
is,
más o menos a un
is
camión
equivalent to one
o sea,
truck,
multipliquen como un
and
camión por
you can
144 y
multiply,
eso es lo que
multiply it
consiste en
one
nuestra
times
sociedad y en nuestro día a día,
144, and
enfermando
that's
a
what
muchos
exists
niños,
in
a los más
our
vulnerables,
community.
que vienen siendo
It
los niños,
it,
los
it
adultos mayores y personas
affects
como
many
yo,
of the
que padecemos
children,
como
and
enfermedades como
it
asma
affects
o
also
bronquitis.
senior citizens and
Este es
people
un
like
contraste
me when
muy
I have
fuerte respiratory problems. This is a big contrast in this paradise, which is Baja, and the contamination. And the contamination, this is what made me understand that energy is not, is the transmission of energy is, it's not a luxury or an option. It's something urgent that we have to need, that we have to do, and more in our state. First, I will tell you how I started. My first great step was in youth challenge. It started in third and fourth grade in high school. He invited me to participate in the kids challenge, and we had to develop an alternator. I, I, I thought I'm not good at mathematics. I'm not good at science, but I decided to try it out. So the director found me outside the bathrooms, and he said, "We have this project, and you can do it." So I said, "Okay, I have free time. I can do it." So we went like we received a motor and blades, and we noticed how they gave us the same thing to different teams, but they gave us different projects. I I built a generator with horizontal axis, and that I discovered something that changed my life. And with some blades, I found out that everything can be different, and I discovered that I could be an innovative. So after that, I found out about Cerca. My teacher told me about this organization that he told me about promoting human rights, and they are dedicated to the scientific evolution in many topics as health, contaminants, etc. And they organized a seminar for innovation for youth, and I won as the best project. I learned many key things, and they have given me an idea, and they gave me a way of thinking that there's a lack of human rights, there's a lack of I there's a sustainable project that we developed, and this is a hybrid model, solar energy and wind energy. This is a project, and it's like a post, a light post, and in the middle it has alternator, like I had been doing it before. Here I started doing everything possible in the communities in San Juanico and El Date. In these rural communities, which are completely disconnected, they don't have any access to energy. And that is when I realized at my 17 years of age that they told me that your project improved many lives in two communities, and each one has more than 60 people. So that spark, how the youth can have an impact in many lives just because we have the possibilities of doing it. And we had the theory, but not the practice many times. And then I had a small obstacle, and that was the bank of batteries. To date, I elected not to use lithium because of the environmental damage, because this is a very aggressive extraction. So I felt that it would take away from what I wanted to do. And that was to use this energy, not to contaminate, but to generate clean energy. And it wasn't going to be the same thing if I used lithium. So I did research, and I met Jennifer Topete, and she told me about green energy, and she told me that she had been researching and exploring with green hydrogen. And in my studies, they hadn't told me anything about hydrogen, and we didn't see it as a clean energy or a chemical or energy or as storage. So I read a lot of research in libraries. I couldn't find anything, and the hydrogen is very light, and we didn't have too much. So researching, I found that hydrogen can be used as a battery, and that I decided that that's what I wanted. We would have more energy, more we would have more communities. So that is how I've been dedicating to education. I go to the children and we tell them how to use green energy. And when you inject this energy to the electricity, the molecules break down and you have two hydrogen and one oxygen. And when you have a previous drying, then you have the fuel and it becomes energy and it stores also energy. This is why I started to go to schools, to events, to workshops. And this year I went to some of the international conferences, and we had the first student committee of the studies with hydrogen after 25 years. That day, I confirmed that the youth can have influence in decision making in electric decisions in the country. Now, I want to talk about the challenge of being a woman in energy and hydrogen. It seems easy that we work and that we make an effort to earn this space, but this is an environment dominated by men, and this is a daily challenge. I heard about many challenges that I was woman and that when I went to the teachers, mm, don't bother, Yesenia. I will explain it later because you wouldn't understand it right now. So they would make fun of me. So I understood something that we're not playing to be engineers. We're studying to become engineers. So there's a group which promotes women and to look at this equality of gender, because it's not being women or being men or being youth or being adults. It's this connection, and I should exist intergenerational and gender, and not because I'm a different gender, I'm more intelligent than others. Now I'm going to talk about Reggie. I'm the general coordinator of this network, and we connect the youth with talent and with the talent that they have. This is like what happens when youth dares to accept all these challenges and look into all these new projects. And we are a community where we have talent, and we don't want the youth to go through the same problems that we have been going through, because there's a lot of information, but we need more communication about this future. We need engineers that understand the present, have a program for new generations, so to include a class for hydrogen in our studies, in our majors. And the objective is a little bit, I would like to have more capable engineers to solve real problems that we're facing right now, because the transition is not long, it's no longer an option, it's something urgent, because we're living in a real climate crisis, and many of these plans start with youth, and we don't just let it go. So we invite people who can make decisions in large companies, and which tell us how can we help you. They don't need just the youth to go without
Our vision of the young hydrology network to help have a transition. Our mission is to work to position the youth as a catalyst for the systemic change with a global system through green hydrogen based on collaboration. So this is basically my presentation. I didn't mention the values, but the values are empathy, integrity, discipline, and commitment on the young innovators network. We have people from Cuba, Chile, Costa Rica, and specifically Mexico. And we have invited most of the states in Mexico. So this is when many young people get together to create something innovative. So thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup, Yesenia, d'avoir partagé votre parcours en tant que jeune, mais aussi en tant que femme dans cette
Thank you
industrie.
very much for
C'est
everything
très
that you have
inspirant
presented.
et
You talked
je
about
suis
your
sûre que
experience as a young person, but also
on a
as
de
a
quoi
young
apprendre, en
woman.
fait, et les jeunes aussi
And I am
qui
certain
suivent
that we're going to
parcours
learn
aussi,
a lot
un
from you.
modèle
And,
qui comprend
and
bien
people
l'industrie,
following
comprend
this
bien,
experience
comprend
will
bien les
also learn
enjeux,
a
mais
lot,
aussi
so
quels
they can
défis
understand
pourraient survenir.
the
Donc là, on a
industry,
une
the
question de
challenges,
Andrea
and
Alvarez,
they
qui a
can
demandé:
overcome
Bonjour,
them. We have a
Yesenia.
question from
Le
Andrea
réseau
Alvarez that says, hello,
RED
Yesenia.
collabore-t-il avec d'autres réseaux de groupes de jeunes? A-t-il été facile ou
Does the
difficile de
network
partager cette
collaborate
vision
with
dans
another
d'autres régions
group
du pays?
of young people? Is it easy or difficult to share this vision with other countries? Thank you so much. Currently, we are collaborating with the Hydrogen Association at a national level. We also have collaborations with the social media for spreading the word on hydrogen. We work with Empower Women, which is an association to encourage women involved in science and engineering. It's difficult sometimes because you're not taken seriously because you're not an expert, you are just a young individual, but we need to defend our position and say, I'm not an expert yet, but I'm getting ready to become an expert. And in addition, we have had a real impact, and we can show our impact, the figures, and that's where we can position ourselves much better.
C'est incroyable. Merci beaucoup, Yesenia, encore une fois.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Yesenia. If you have more questions to Yesenia, you can ask them in the question and answer section on the bottom of your screen. And we will be able to answer to other questions, to other presenters. So please write them down in a Q&A section and not on the chat so we can answer them. I'm very, very happy with this presentation. So now we're going to continue with the next presentation. We have Matrix of Justice, Lorena James, representing the United States, and she's going to share her path with her organization. She is located in the southeast region. She works with young farmers, and we're going to pass her the floor. Thank you, Lorena.
Thank you, Leila. I really appreciate it. Yes, as shared, my name is Lorena. I am representing today Nature for Justice, specifically our Growing American Farmer Prosperity Program. We operate mainly out of North Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia in the United States. And we work to cultivate equity, prosperity, and regenerative agriculture with smallholder farmers here in the Southern US. First, I want to give a little bit of historical context and a little bit of personal context as well. Smallholder, particularly BIPOC farmers in the US, have lost their farmland due to many systemic barriers, including discriminatory lending practices, heirs property challenges, market exclusion, and land dispossession. And this has resulted in an estimated $326 billion in lost wealth in the BIPOC community in the United States. This loss has weakened rural economies and disrupted local food systems. So addressing these challenges requires not only equitable land access and agricultural resilience, but also a new generation of youth farmers to carry this work forward to ensure long-term sustainability in our food systems. I myself and actually named after my great-great-grandmother, Lorena Roundtree, pictured here. She was born in Aiken, South Carolina in 1895. And she was a sharecropper her entire life. So having that history and legacy of farming, especially in the Black community in the United States, is prevalent and can also carry this tone of trauma, especially within the Black community in the US. And as a young Black woman in the US, I never imagined ever working in agriculture because of this essentially trauma I've always associated with farming in the United States as a Black person. So it's been really great being able to work with Nature for Justice to continue the importance of farming. Farming, it is a business. Farmers are entrepreneurs, and supporting smallholder, especially BIPOC farmers in the Southeast has been a very fulfilling experience. And one stat I want to focus on here is that since 1910, 90% of Black-owned farmland has been lost. So it's really important work that we remember these histories and continue to support smallholder and minority farmers for this reason. So the work that we do at Nature for Justice is all centered around regenerative agriculture. Here listed are a few examples of what regenerative agriculture might look like. But not only is these farming practices good for restoring soil quality, but it also can help repair historical harms that I've mentioned and build future prosperity. At Nature for Justice, we prioritize restoring the land, building farmer power, increasing resilience, reconnecting communities through agriculture, and making sure that our producers are able to access markets in an equitable way to be able to sell their produce. But again, at the crux of all of this, it's so important that we are supporting and continuing to provide resources to this next generation of producers to make sure that we can continue to have farmers for generations to come. So again, Nature for Justice and through our Growing American Farmer Prosperity Program, we work really closely with the producers in our network to co-create programming to support the producers that we work with. This looks like farmer listening sessions to ensure that we meet the needs of our community, identifying key needs, which can look like providing direct support, peer learning, and technical assistance to support regenerative practices. And the co-creation is really important. So again, we're not just providing our sources or our resources to producers. We are co-creating opportunities with the producers in our network. One example of this is, our farmers are busy. They're outside most of the day, especially being in the South in the US, our growing season is quite long. But farmers, we really want them to be empowered to share their stories and to advocate for improved agricultural policy in the United States. So we were able to host a public speaking workshop with our producers to make sure that they feel empowered not just to be successful farmers, but also to feel successful in their ability to share their stories with the public. This is a quick diagram describing our model, but again, what I really want to emphasize here is our farmer-to-farmer networks and really focusing on building community through regenerative agriculture. To date, since 2022, we first began this work, We've welcomed over 150 BIPOC farmers in our network. That number might be a bit higher now, but definitely over 150 farmers, which is great. We have transitioned almost 7,000 acres to regenerative agriculture practices, particularly in North Carolina and Virginia. And we have been able to distribute $2 million to support the smallholder producers that we work with here in the United States. So as we look forward to continue this work for years to come, again, a really important part of this is encouraging this next generation of engagement for young farmers. So that can look like, recruiting and supporting younger farmers to ensure generational continuity, whether it's making sure that the farmers we work with, that their children and grandchildren maybe want to be involved in their farming work, or maybe finding other young community members from the area to support this work. I'm going to share a few examples of some of the producers that we work with. First, we have Courtney Steed, who is a Lumbee tribe member in North Carolina and the founder of the Cultural Burn Association. So she has been a really amazing supporter of this work to ensure that we are centering and emphasizing the importance of Indigenous practices in regenerative agriculture. Essentially, really all the regenerative agriculture work that we do has roots in Indigenous farming. So it's so important that we work with and collaborate with Indigenous communities in the areas we work with in the United States in this work. Courtney has 20 enrolled acres in our Nature for Justice program in Robeson County, and you can see some examples of the regenerative farming practices that she uses, but cultural burning and prescribed burns. She's been a really great person to share with the community what that means for conservation as when it applies to agriculture. Patrick Brown is actually the director of our Nature for Justice Growing American Farmer Prosperity Program, and he is actually a fourth generation farmer. So he knows a lot about what it means to plan for the future and encourage this next generation of farmers. He's actually encouraging the fifth generation with his own family on his family farm. He has 112 acres enrolled in our Nature for Justice program, but he's also been very inspiring for myself as well to understand what it means to continue this tradition of farming, especially in the southern US. I'll bring up a personal example as well. If you remember a moment ago when I mentioned my great-great-grandmother, Lorena Roundtree, I started my own small communications and environmental consulting group called Roundtree Resilience, where I offer some environmental consulting and communication services that I do offer as well to Nature for Justice. And right now, my grandmother actually from my great-great-grandmother Lorena inherited 100 acres of farmland in Aiken, South Carolina. And while my grandma did pass away last year, I'm actually actively working with my grandfather to manage this land in South Carolina and renew our family's commitment to its preservation in future, whether that looks like farming or maybe starting agrivoltaic systems on the property. But working with Nature for Justice has been such an amazing experience to, again, not only dive deeper into what it means to be like a Black woman farmer in the US, for example, but also what it means for families across the US who are carrying on this tradition of sustainable agriculture in the US. Here are some examples of some of the funders we've worked with. I really want to call out Patagonia and Cliff Cargill, some big corporations that have been able to support our work, not only through funding, but also through community engagement and in-kind donations. So for example, we hosted a film event here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we collaborated with Patagonia and the organization Black Girl Environmentalists, if you've heard of it before. But we were able to bring the community together and also invite fellow farmers in Charlotte, North Carolina to watch the film, and afterwards had a panel session discussion to talk about what it means to be minority, or as we prefer to say, global majority farmers working in the southern US. I also do some work with invasive species management, and it's been a really great experience to learn and explore ways to create biochar or an actual fertilizer from invasive species biomass. So as our farmers work to manage invasive plants on their property, they're actually able to create biochar and fertilize their crops that way. So that's something that we're working on and collaborating with. And the last thing I want to leave you off with is this really important work of intergenerational collaboration and intergenerational foresight. I'm a member of the Global Shapers community supported by the World Economic Forum, and I'm a participant in their Future 50 initiative, where we're working to ensure that we're really prioritizing the importance of intergenerational collaboration in all work across the globe, whether you're working in the private sector or public sector, whatever it might be. So this quote I want to leave you off with is just that intergenerational foresight is a critical tool for ensuring that today's decisions create a sustainable and equitable future. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. If you want to keep in touch, feel free to reach out via email. But yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Je vais parler en anglais. Thank you so much, Lorena, for your presentation. Sorry to hear about your grandmother's passing, but it's amazing what you've been doing to honor her legacy. The question that I have for you today is, with your work with the private sector, you've mentioned the community engagement that you do with them. Could you answer, why do you think it's important for the private sector to engage beyond just funding?
Definitely. Yes, while funding is definitely important, community activation and building community is not necessarily not just as important, but definitely very, very important. Especially in this very digital age, meeting with people, whether it's on Zoom or in person, to build that community is very crucial. And private companies have the name recognition and the ability to bring people together, whether it's providing funding to host the event or providing the physical space to host events. So yeah, in that way, the community building is very crucial, and these companies have the ability to gather people because of their name recognition.
C'est incroyable, merci d'avoir partagé. Thank you for sharing. Là, je vais passer en français et on va passer à la période de questions générales. Donc, ça, c'est des
Now I
questions
would
que
like
vous
to
aurez
start
peut-être
with
pour
the
tout le
general
monde,
questions.
en fait, pour les présenteurs. Donc là, j'ai une
And
question
we're going
pour
to continue
Emmanuel et
with the
Star.
questions for the
Donc,
presenters.
si
We
vous
have a
pouvez
question right
répondre à
now
la question
for
C
Emmanuel.
de
Emmanuel,
Sarah.
can you answer to
Sarah
this,
Dean
to
Seattle.
Sarah's
La
question?
question qu'elle a posée pour vous,
Sarah,
Emmanuel et Star, c'est comment peut-on décrocher un stage
Sarah has a
chez
question for
Bombardier?
Emmanuel.
Et si vous
How can we
pouvez
get
ouvrir vos caméras quand vous répondez aux
an
questions? Merci.
internship in Bombardier? Can you answer to this question? Thank you so much.
Yes, I can. Also, sorry, I put my camera down, so I'll set that back up again. Give me a second. All right. So to get an internship at Bombardier, basically you'd have to look out for postings. That's, I guess, the first thing. We usually, I think there is a platform specific to internships, but all the job postings, including internships, should be on the career page, I believe. And if you're looking for an internship at Bombardier, I would really follow like how it works at school with semesters. So usually it's fall, summer, winter. So usually it's a couple months before the winter semester you'll start to see postings, and then a couple months before fall, summer, so on is when you'll start seeing postings. So that's usually how it's lined up. So if you want something or you want to look at the different postings available, I would start looking. I think right now it's a little too late for winter, but beginning I think February is when you'd be able to look at something for the summer internships. And then beginning summer is when you could look at something for fall and so on.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that insight. We do have another question for you, actually, from Elizalde Farrell, who had asked, Hello, bonjour, je souhaiterais savoir si Bombardier a pris des engagements ESG envers les localités où se trouvent ces usines d'assemblage. En effet, les déchets industriels
I would
sont
like to know,
extrêmement difficiles à
talking
recycler.
about industrial discharges that are very difficult to recycle. What does Bombardier
Emmanuel
do
et Star,
with
si
respect
vous
to that?
pouvez répondre à la question.
Emmanuel, if you can
Yes.
answer this question, Emmanuel or Star?
So I'm probably not the best person to answer this because my work isn't really on this. I don't have full visibility. I do know Bombardier does have commitments to reducing waste, whether that be hazardous waste or I think general waste. I do want to highlight that there's different teams at Bombardier that work on sustainability. So I'm on the product side, but there's also a sustainability team that works at the company level as well, and they really work on they mostly work on this type of aspect of sustainability. But again, I'm not the best to answer this question. I highly suggest if you are interested, we do have a sustainability report where I believe it should be outlined what activities we're doing when it comes to waste. But I do know that there is something going on and we do have commitments in terms of waste reduction. I just can't explain exactly like what the initiatives are or what they're doing exactly right now. I hope that helps.
It's definitely a good starting. C'est une bonne ressource. Merci, Emmanuel. J'ai maintenant des questions pour Yesenia.
Una pregunta para
Si vous
Yesenia.
êtes prêt à répondre à les questions. La première, la
Are
personne,
are
c'est
you ready
anonyme.
to respond?
Mais la
The
question
first one is
pour
a new
Yesenia,
person.
ça serait,
And the
j'aimerais
question for
savoir si vous
Yesenia is the
proposez des
following.
formations ou
I
des
would
cours
like
en
to
ligne sur
know
les thèmes de la
if
transition
you
juste
have
et de l'hydrogène vert.
information regarding the transition and the green hydrogen.
Hola, sí, damos conferencias,
We have
pero las
conferences,
hacemos mayormente de forma presencial en
mainly
México.
in-person conferences in
Contamos
Mexico.
también con nuestro
We
grupo
also
de
have a
comunidad.
group of a
Ahí
community
serían,
group, and
en la
there
comunidad tenemos
in
un tablero
the
de aviso
community
donde se pueden
we have
registrar más
like
conferencias sobre
a
organización
board
energética,
for
sobre talleres
news,
de
and
hidrógeno, sobre
they can give
divulgación.
you information
Y
about
incluso
hydrogen
también tenemos
workshops, and
como
we also
conferencias de
have like
tesis que han hecho de nuestra comunidad de cómo hacer hidrógeno
dissertations
con aguas residuales,
regarding
de
how to
cómo
use
hacerlas
hydrogen
con
with
agua de lluvia
wastewater
y todo.
and how to do it
Entonces,
with rainwater,
eso
etc.
se puede ver más en
So
el grupo de comunidad y
you
ya de
can
forma
look at
presencial
that
lo que
in
nosotros
the
hacemos es más
community
la
group.
divulgación
In
científica
in-person
para ir
group,
expandiendo
we
este
do
conocimiento.
scientific research to
Espero
expand
que
this
haya podido
knowledge.
responderlo.
I hope that I answered your question.
Merci d'avoir répondu à cette question, Yesenia. On a une autre question pour vous de Myriam Mata
Thank you
Garcia.
for answering that
Elle a
question,
demandé,
Yesenia. I
Yesenia,
have
quels
a
sont tes
question
projets
from Miriam
futurs?
Garcia. Yesenia, what are your future projects?
Mis proyectos en personal
My
es que ahorita estoy
personal
empezando con
projects
el título
is
de mi
that I'm
tesis.
starting with my
Actualmente
dissertation.
estoy en tercer
Currently,
semestre de la carrera,
I'm in the
pero aún
third
así como
semester of
que he estado
my
queriendo alinear ya para hacer
studies,
mi tesis
and I want
y
to
estoy en
start aligning
colaboración
so I can do
con
my dissertation, and
con
I'm
el
in
Instituto
collaboration
Politécnico
with
Nacional
the
de
National
México
Polytechnical Institute
y
of
con la
Mexico,
doctora Rosa,
and with
quien
Dr.
más
Rosa
investigaciones tiene de
has done
hidrógeno en
a
México.
lot of
Entonces,
research
ahorita estoy en mi
in
proceso
Mexico. So I
de
am in the
hacer mi
process
tesis y
of
con eso
doing my
seguir
dissertation,
con el
and with
proyecto que
that,
comenté de
to
Iridium
start
Energy, que es
with
el
the
poste para las
project
comunidades
of
rurales. Es con lo que más estoy comprometida
electric
ahorita.
energy, and that is what I'm committed in right now.
Merci, Yesenia, d'avoir répondu à ces questions-là et merci aux participants
Thank you,
aussi pour vos
Yesenia,
questions.
for
Je vous
answering
encourage
these
d'en
questions, and all the
partager d'autres.
participants for
Là,
your
j'ai des
questions.
questions pour
We will
Lorena.
have
Je vais les poser
time
en
for
anglais.
answering other questions, and now I
So,
have a
Lorena, we
question
do have a question
for
for you
Lorena,
from
and I'm going
Anonymous.
to do it in English.
With the work that you do for Nature for Justice, you mentioned how part of the work is doing public speaking, workshops and whatnot. We're just also curious about how do you also kind of encourage an entrepreneurial spirit as well within those who participate with Nature for Justice.
Definitely. We're always exploring ways to create a new value added products. So finding, I guess, like revenue streams and market access for producers to make products that maybe they wouldn't normally think of, making salad dressing, collaborating with Ben and Jerry's, for example, to make ice cream out of some of the produce that they sell, that they grow, making teas out of some of the produce that they grow. Usually, oftentimes our producers sell directly to like larger mills that maybe we just use the grain, or there are other kinds of produce to make like cereal, other kinds of larger produce that would be distributed across the country. But we're also exploring ways to have sort of a farm to school model. So we're able to keep the produce in the local communities where our producers are operating. So yeah, I guess in that way, prioritizing community can make our producers think more entrepreneurially in that way.
Perfect. Thank you for answering that question. Another question for you, Lorena, is you shared how getting into this sort of work, especially when it comes to agriculture and land, came with its own, I guess, personal inhibitions. So I'm also curious to know how you kind of, let's say, other young people that you work with, how do you help them through that process as well that you yourself went through?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, the way that I found my career path in agriculture was through kind of like an AmeriCorps program, so kind of a internship program offered through the government in the United States. So definitely, encouraging other young people to find, local internships with local producers, or ways that, yeah, our government is supporting young people to find their way into agriculture. It can also look like, volunteering at a community garden. My very, very first experience on a farm or a community garden was interning, I think maybe it was the summer after my freshman year in college, at a urban garden in North Carolina in the US. And I at the time was very interested more so in like I was doing like some work in 3D printing and material science, and I was like, oh, let's try out this farming internship and see how it goes. And I really enjoyed it. Ended up pivoting and doing some work in data analytics for a while, but then always in my heart, like, love that experience of being outside and working with nature, and found my way back to farming with Nature for Justice. So yeah, I mean, just start interning at your local community garden or visiting farmers markets, and you can always find your way into agriculture that way.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Là, je vais passer en français. J'ai une question juste pour les trois présenteurs. Donc, si vous voulez répondre, la
For the
question que
three of
j'ai
you,
pour vous,
if
c'est
you would like to
pourquoi est-ce que
answer the
c'est
question
important
that I
de
have for
distinguer
you is,
l'engagement des
why is it
jeunes
important
dans
to
le secteur
distinguish the
privé
commitment of youth
par
in the
la
private sector
participation générale dans
through
le secteur?
general
Donc, pourquoi est-ce que c'est
participation
différent? Pourquoi est-ce
in
que
the sector?
c'est vraiment
This
important
means,
d'être
why
axé
is it
sur
different?
l'engagement
Why is it
des
important
jeunes en particulier?
to give youth that specific access?
I can jump in quickly and share. I think as a youth, I'm 26, so yeah, in that youth range, I believe that we have this energy about us that can kind of like brighten a space. I feel like after you've been working in a certain industry for X number of years, you can start to feel very defeated and feel very pessimistic about the state of the world. But because we're younger, we bring this new perspective and this new energy. And to be frank, I think the reason why I'm still at Nature for Justice is partially because I do bring this new, like, energetic, exciting energy. And yeah, I think it's a little bit easier for the youth to bring new ideas to the table. We just need more older folks to still listen to us and be willing to pivot and explore new ideas that we recommend.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what was just mentioned. I really think when it comes to youth and our presence in different contexts, it's really about perspective. So I think we are able to bring additional perspective, we have maybe, I don't know how to say this. Like I was just mentioned earlier, people have worked in their roles for many, many years, and oftentimes, it's hard to break out of the mold that's been built out. And so having someone come in with a fresh mindset, I think helps a lot because sometimes they'll mention things that you might not have thought of before. And I think that's very, very useful when it comes to innovation, but especially for sustainability.
Sí, yo también haciendo, reafirmando lo
Yes,
que dijeron,
confirming
también
what has been said.
muchas veces como que
Many
ya las
times
personas están
the
cansadas
people
porque es
are
como que el mismo
tired
problema y
because
la
it's the same
misma solución,
problem
por así
and the
decirlo.
same
Por
solution
eso es
to say it
que
some
yo en lo
way.
personal apoyo
So
tanto a
that is
cambios
why
sistémicos,
I
porque
personally
sería
support
extraordinario de que si nos damos
systemic
cuenta
change
que algo
because
no
we
está
notice
funcionando
that
es
if
porque algo
something
está
is
mal
not working,
y
it's
como
because it's
llegar
not
al fondo
correct.
de esa
So
problemática,
to
no
reach
solo
the
que algo
bottom
esté
of
mal y
that
cambiar por
problem,
esa cosa, sino de que
to
por qué
change
viene
that thing and why
ese daño realmente.
is that
Entonces,
damage
creo que
coming.
entre jóvenes, como
So
que si tenemos un
to be
poco
you to
la
be
mente
youth,
muy fresca de
we
cosas
have a
nuevas y
fresh
de
way of
nuevas
thinking,
iniciativas,
fresh mind,
y siento que
new
eso es lo que bien
initiatives, new
impulsa a
things, and
que
that is what
sea real
promotes
esta toma de
uh,
decisiones entre
that what
la brecha
promotes the
intergeneracional, de
decision
como que
maker
romper esa brecha y
uh,
poder tomar
to make it
decisiones entre
better
jóvenes y adultos
and to
ya
make
y
decisions
personas,
among
como dicen,
youth
expertos.
and to
Entonces, creo
make
que es
decision
lo
among people
importante
who are
realmente.
experts. And I think that that is what is important.
Merci d'avoir partagé vos points. Vous avez tous donné des points qui sont très importants et très vrais. En fait, c'est pour ça que l'engagement des jeunes, c'est très important de vraiment
The implication
briser
of
des
youth is
barrières
very important
et encourager le changement, de
to
interrompre
be
d'une bonne
able
manière
to have a
aussi
change and
des
to
routines, des
interrupt
façons
in
de
a good
faire qui
way
sont peut-être
the
maintenant
routines, things that have
vieilles, qui
been
demandent
done
un
for
changement et de
for a
l'innovation.
long time,
Et
and
c'est
that they
intéressant de voir
request or
comment,
they need a
avec vos
change with regards
expériences,
to
vos trois
innovation.
expériences
And with
les trois
their
points
experiences,
de l'Amérique
with
du
the
Nord où vous
three
vous situez,
experiences, we have three
comment c'est important.
perspectives
Donc,
in North
merci beaucoup pour
America
votre
and
réponse et pour
how
votre
all this
partage.
is very important.
J'ai une dernière
Thank you very
question
much for
pour
your
Lorena.
answers and
C'est de
for
Diana
sharing them.
Salas
I have
Alvarado
one
qui a
last
demandé
question, and
une
it's from
exploitation
Diana
agricole
Alvarado,
nordique peut-elle
and she's
collaborer avec
asking,
Nature for
um,
Justice ou
can
comment pourrait-elle
the
collaborer?
agriculture community work with Nature for Justice? This is for Yesenia.
Con Nature for Justice, no sé si sea para la otra
Uh,
ponente, pero
I'm not the
sí,
presenter for Nature for Justice, but yes.
no entendí muy bien como
I
la
didn't understand
pregunta.
very well the question.
La question était pour Lorena. J'ai répété la question. J'ai une
I'm
question.
going to repeat the
L'exploitation agricole au Mexique
question.
peut-elle collaborer avec Nature for Justice ou comment pourrait-elle collaborer?
Sorry, if you could repeat the question one more time.
Yes. Je vais parler en anglais. I can give the question in English. Essentially, someone is asking, so if an agricultural organization in Mexico would like to collaborate with Nature for Justice, is it possible? And how could they collaborate?
Definitely, yeah. Feel free to reach out to us. Nature for Justice, we are actually a global organization. We operate also in Canada, South Africa, and the US, but we're always looking to find other collaborators. So yeah, feel free to send me an email. I am working on my Spanish, so hopefully we can collaborate. But yes, feel free to send me an email and we can talk more.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being open to the collaboration. Merci à tout le monde pour votre question, d'avoir partagé. C'est très encourageant. Donc là,
We are
la période
very
de questions
happy
est maintenant terminée. S'il n'y a
to
pas
have
d'autres questions,
all these questions.
je vais
I think that we don't have
passer
any more questions.
le
Now
plancher à Julie et à
I'm going
Samantha
to pass
pour les
the
prochaines étapes.
Microphone to Julie and Samantha. Thank you.
Merci Léla. Ah, oui, je pense que tout fonctionne. Merci beaucoup Léla. Merci aussi aux
Thank you very
panélistes pour
much,
leurs
Leila.
inspirantes présentations.
Thank you
Merci aussi
to
à
the
mes
panelists
collègues
for their presentations.
qui
Thank you
qui
to
ont
my
présenté, qui
colleagues
nous ont appuyés.
that
Léla va nous donner
made
un mot de la fin
presentations
dans
and
quelques
that
minutes.
gave
Avant
us
cela,
provided support.
on aimerait en fait
And
avoir
in
vos
a few
commentaires
minutes,
et
we
avant
will
de vous donner
provide
les
more
prochaines
information.
étapes pour la
We would
commission,
also
vos
like to
commentaires
know about your
sur
comments
le webinaire. Donc, ma collègue
regarding the
Léonore va
webinar.
partager un code QR à l'écran dans quelques minutes.
So
Donc,
my
n'hésitez pas à remplir le
colleague is
sondage.
going to
Vous voyez
share
aussi le
a
lien dans le chat,
QR
dans le
code so
clavardage.
you can answer the
Voilà, on cherche toujours
questions
à
of
s'améliorer,
this
donc vous
survey.
poserez vos commentaires
Also in the
avec grand
chat,
plaisir.
we saw
Et
different
pendant que
conversations, and in this way
vous
we can
scannez
know
ce
about your
code QR,
comments.
moi je vais me
And
permettre de
now
vous
you
annoncer
can
un peu les
scan
prochaines
the
étapes en termes
QR
d'engagement
code,
jeunesse
and
à la commission, puis
I
aussi
would
pour les
like
journées
to
de l'engagement jeunesse.
announce the
Et
next
puis Sam
stages for
va
your
pouvoir vous en dire
for
un
your
peu plus sur ce qui se
participation
passe au
in
niveau
the
du
CC
secteur
and
privé.
the youth work,
Alors en fait, à la suite de vos
and
commentaires,
to know
Léla, dont le
more
mandat a été
about what
de
happens
faciliter
in the private
et
sector.
d'identifier avec nous les intervenantes et les intervenants pour les
So
webinaires. Léla
we're
va
trying
préparer
to
un résumé des meilleures
identify
pratiques en fait. Donc
the participants
tout ce qui a
for
été partagé
to the
aujourd'hui
webinar and all the things
avec
that were
nous,
shared today.
des panélistes, mais aussi des personnes qui ont posé des questions.
And
En
the
fait, vous vous
panelists
retrouverez
shared many things,
dans un
but
résumé
we
qui va être
also had
publié sur le
people
site
who'd ask
internet de
questions.
la
I'm sorry,
commission
and
en début d'année
this will
2026. Donc là aussi,
be
on vous
in a
partagera
summary that
en
we
début
will
d'année quand ce
publish
sera
in
prêt.
the
Si jamais
website of the
vous voulez
CEC,
retourner sur quelques
which will
messages
be
qui ont été
published
portés
in
ou sur les
2026
profils en fait
at the beginning
de
of
nos chers panélistes.
2026. And if you have time
Et
to
puis
look
un
at
autre
these
message au niveau de ce
messages,
qui est plus général engagement jeunesse, on
and
va
we
bientôt lancer
have
un appel à candidature
another general
pour un
message
programme qui
with
s'appelle la
regards to
troisième
youth.
génération de leaders de l'environnement.
We will have a
C'est un
program
programme
that is called
qui permet aux jeunes
a generation
et aux
program,
équipes
and this
guidées
allows
par des jeunes,
people,
des organisations qui sont gérées par des
or
jeunes,
this allows
d'avoir un an
youth
de mentorat
to
avec des
participate
mentors
in
professionnels, mentors
organizations
de la
that
commission, des
are
occasions de réseautage
guided
aussi,
by
parce qu'on a
youth.
un grand réseau ici à la commission
And it
trinationale, donc
also
on veut en
gives
faire participer le plus de monde possible.
opportunities
Et puis aussi
to make
un financement de
network
démarrage de
connections.
15 000
And
pour
there
votre
will
projet.
also
Donc voilà,
be
vous allez
initial
recevoir
financing
aussi
for the project. You will
l'information sous
also
peu
receive information,
dans un message à tous les participants, mais n'hésitez pas à rester à l'affût de nos
and
opportunités
all
pour
the
nos événements. On a
participants
une
will
infolette, on a des
receive a
médias
message.
sociaux. Donc voilà, vous avez
We
régulièrement
have
pas mal
these
d'opportunités au
messages
niveau de
that will
l'engagement jeunesse
be in the
notamment.
social
Il y a aussi des
networks,
stages.
and we will
Voilà, en tout cas,
have
j'étais
it
bien
for
ravie
the youth
de vous
participation.
avoir avec nous. Et puis,
I
Léla va vous dire
was
un peu
very
plus de ce qui se
happy
passe avec
that you
les
were
journées de
able to
l'engagement jeunesse. Mais
participate with us.
entre-temps, je vais laisser
And
Sam dire un
also,
petit mot
my
aussi pour le mot de
colleague
la fin,
is going to tell
si
you
tu
a
veux
little bit more
te connecter.
about what is going to happen with youth
Merci,
environmental
Julie.
work and how to get
Pues de mi parte
linked.
solamente agradecerle a
I would like
todas
to
y todos
thank
los panelistas, a
all the
Lela por
panelists,
todo su
Leila,
trabajo y su
for
apoyo
all
en la
her work
organización de
and
este
support in the
webinario
organization of
en
this
el que
webinar, in
personalmente
which
fue un
I
placer
personally,
ver
it was a
a los
pleasure
jóvenes tomar la
to,
palabra y dirigir
to look at all the youth
este
and
webinario y
we
compartir sus
able to
experiencias.
participate in
Entonces,
this
muchas
webinar
gracias y
and to
también
share
muchas
your
gracias a todas las
experiences.
personas que nos
And
acompañan el
thank
día
you
de hoy.
to all the people
Les
who
invito a que
joined us
consulten la
today.
página de
Please
la
go
CCA
to the
para
CEC
que
website
sepan de los
so
próximos
that you
eventos que
know
tenemos
or you can
planeados
learn
sobre
about
el
next
sector
events.
privado.
And
Habrá un tercer webinario.
what we have with the
Entonces
private
están,
sector, we will have a third webinar.
está la invitación a que nos acompañen.
So we have
Muchas
the
gracias
invitation so that you
nuevamente
can join
y
us.
les cedo la
Thank
palabra
you
de
once
nuevo
again,
a Julie y a
in
Lela.
Julie and Lela.
Donc, merci à tout le monde pour votre participation
Thank
et
you
votre
very much for
contribution.
participating
Je vais aller juste dire un
and
petit
for
mot
all your
en anglais.
participation.
Thank you
I would like
everyone
to say a few
for
words.
participating, for the speakers as well, for your input, and giving examples of how young people can really exercise their agencies in different way, whether it be within an organization, or starting their own initiatives to really push forward climate resilience, And as Yesenia had shared, moving from theory to practice. So I thank you all for, Lorena and Yesenia, Emmanuel, and Star for sharing your experiences, sharing your resources and your ideas as well for how, young people can apply that freshness and that excitement and that rigor to disrupt traditional and sometimes maybe outdated practices and really move forward and take ownership of the future ultimately. So thank you so much for this. Donc, il y aura 2 autres webinaires pour la semaine de l'engagement des jeunesses. Donc, le 20 novembre, nous avons la séance de la tendance environnementale traditionnelle pour les prochaines
In
générations.
November,
Et le 25 novembre, il y aura aussi le
we
webinaire
will
sur
have
les
science
temps de
for new
changement, l'action
generations,
des
and we
jeunes
will
à
have a
l'échelle
webinar.
locale pour des collectivités résilientes. Donc, ces 2 autres webinaires vont
We're going
aussi
to have
donner,
another seminar
on va
for
aussi rencontrer d'autres jeunes
young
qui
people in
exercent et
resilient
engagent
communities,
dans
and we're going to see
d'autres
other
manières.
young
Donc,
individuals that
la tendance
engage
environnementale et
and
aussi
work
l'action des jeunes à
differently.
l'échelle
We're going to
locale.
be talking
Donc,
about
on va voir au-delà du
environmental
secteur privé
issues,
comment
but
les
also
jeunes peuvent
local
s'engager,
actions.
encore une fois,
We're going to see how
pour la résilience
people
climatique, pour que ça
how
soit
the youth can
pris en charge
engage
et fait
with
par-dessus. Donc, vous pouvez vous inscrire
and how
directement
to
sur le
help with
site de
the
CCE
climate
pour
resilience.
ces
You
webinaires-là
can do that
pour pouvoir y
in the
participer et je
CEC
vous
site
encourage
for these
fortement
webinars
à le faire
to be
aussi.
able to participate.
Donc,
And
merci
I
à
would
toutes et à
really
tous
like to
pour vos
invite you
aperçus.
to
Merci à
join
l'équipe
us.
aussi du
Thank
CC
you,
pour votre support
everyone.
et d'avoir
The next will be
donné
traditional
l'espace pour
environment
avoir ces
stewardship for the
discussions
next
très importantes
generations and ripples of
et
change,
réunir
youth local
nos
action
meilleurs
for resilient
comme vous voulez
communities
le
that's
voir.
going to
Merci
be
beaucoup à
held
tout le monde.
on November 25th, Ripples of Change, and November the 20th, Traditional Environment Stewardship for the Next Generations. So see you then. Thank you very much for having joined this webinar.